Now, I bet you're ready to test your skills and learn about some of the products we've talked about today. Well, we have two interactive games for you that will give you real-world practice with Google Cloud tools. Play against fellow developers and engineers across the globe to complete hands-on labs as fast as you can, and earn cool prizes just for joining in on the fun. This is a global competition with 1,000 seats per game and per region. The participants who get the best score of 5 attempts will win. The lab-timed allocations you'll see are based on averages, so it's highly likely that you'll be able to finish within the allotted 45-minute demo segment. Now, just like any game, let's set some ground rules. The scores are based on the time that you finish the lab, and labs can be taken in any order. We'll have a leaderboard on the site so you can check where you're at. You have up to 5 chances to play each game and improve your score in order to earn a top ranking. We'll have 2 different learning paths, but the one you're about to embark on is learning path number 1, the Cloud Adoption Strategies game. Labs in this game include Terraform fundamentals, automating the deployment of networks with Terraform, a Cloud IAM quick start, and configuring a secure RDP using Windows Bastion Host. For learning path 2, it'll be the Cloud Implementation game, which includes labs on VPC networking fundamentals, running Windows containers on Compute Engine, Cloud SQL with Terraform, and GKE migrating to containers. Choose a learning path, or if you're ambitious, take both. Oh, wait, I can't forget to tell you what the prize is. The first 10 players that finish the Global Conference Hands-on Labs game will receive 50 Quick Labs credits, and first place winner gets 100 Quick Labs credits. Each person can play up to 5 times, and your best score out of the 5 attempts will be taken for the competition. And all players will win 1 month of free Quick Labs access to continue taking labs and earning badges, 1 month of free Google Cloud Platform training on Coursera, and a cool custom digital badge to display publicly on your social profiles. The more challenges you take on and the faster you complete them, the more points you score. Strive to get to the top of the leaderboard and impress your peers. And the game is open to play until July 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Then, the winners will be notified by email in 2 weeks from today. We'll get started in just a little bit, so make sure to get ready and choose the path that you want to most focus on. But don't forget, you'll have access to not only the competition, but also all of these labs just by entering. So whether you want to get some more hands-on practice with Terraform, which is a great way to take and declare some of the infrastructure, set it up as code, and then have it automatically deploy, or if you want to understand a little bit more about cloud networking and other fundamentals, both of these tracks have some really, really cool content. So we're excited to have you join, and we'll get those started in just a few seconds.
Good morning from beautiful sunny California. I'm Evan, and with me is one of our lead instructors.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And today we're going to be walking you through a hands-on quick lab, which is going to be an exciting place where you can both learn and test your skills competitively against thousands of other developers across the globe. And the cool part is you'll pick up a lot of cloud adoption strategies along the way. So let's get started and see what we're going to tackle. So first off, a little bit of introductions. I'm Evan. I have the dream job of developing a lot of the curriculum in the labs that you all get to take today. And the really cool thing is you get the best of both worlds. You get developers of content, and you get the lead instructors who actually deliver that content in the classroom. Lisa?
Thanks, Evan. So my name is Lisa. I work as an infrastructure trainer for Google Cloud Platform. I get to travel around the world, meet lots of folks, and talk about GCP. So with that, let's do the game.
Let's do it. So one of my big tenets is I want to minimize the amount of time that we'll be spending on the slides in the lecture. There's a teeny bit of lecture on Terraform, but the majority of our 40 minutes together is going to be spent directly inside of the hands-on interactive quick lab, and we're going to be promoting that leaderboard. So you're really going to see each other climb and skip over each other as you progress through the lab. And of course, we'll share, Lisa's going to be going through the lab. She'll share some really quick tips for how you can actually get speed bonuses as you climb your way to the top of the rankings. But first, as with any good talk, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do with this agenda. So first and foremost, you already met us, that's the overview. Second, we're going to talk a little bit about Terraform and the fundamentals lab that you're going to be doing. Now, it's one of 4 labs for this track. We're only going to do one because it takes about 30 to 40 minutes. But the game itself is open until July 2nd, which is pretty cool. And you'll hear me repeat that over the course of this session. So don't feel rushed in completing this lab. And as you heard that was mentioned a little bit earlier, you actually have 5 attempts for each lab. That's part of the game, so that's number 3 there. But don't leave after you've done the game, because just for showing up, we're going to give you, as you heard before, 1 month free of quick labs, and you're going to be getting 1 month of Coursera access as well. And then we've got some live Q&A. So the really cool thing that you can do right now is you're already on the chat. I've got one of my really good friends, Artem, in Boulder, Colorado, and what he's doing right now, he's going to be answering your questions live. So if there's something that Lisa or myself don't cover, be sure to type your question in the chat. And if we can't answer it live, we'll be sure to follow up with you afterwards. Okay, so you heard a little bit about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on how the games actually work, but just to highlight, each lab, and we're going to be doing one of them today, you can do 5 times. And if you've never taken a quick lab before, it's going to be okay. We're going to walk you through exactly one together. We're going to go pretty slow, which means that we might not score the highest points on our first attempt, but we'll share with you for your second, third, fourth, fifth attempt for this one lab, how you can blaze through and get one of the top rankings. So the good news, you've heard before, there's a leaderboard, so you can see out of the thousands of people globally that are taking these labs, where you're ranking. And as I mentioned before, there's no rush. So you can go through the first attempt for the lab just to learn the material. That's ultimately our end goals. We want to get you to use Terraform, for example, on Google Cloud Platform, but ultimately you can do it at your own speed. So what's the kind of the basic principle that brought all of you here together today? It's using Google Cloud Platform for whatever application that you have and that you want to serve to reach your customers, to fulfill your business goals, to build really cool machine learning models, to get your on-premise into the cloud. Whatever brought you here listening to this webinar today, it's all about using a sophisticated, scalable platform like Google Cloud Platform to enable you to do whatever you want. Now, my background is big data and machine learning fundamentals, so I like analyzing huge data sets at scale, building machine learning models, getting those really, really cool insights, but that's just a small sliver of some of the things that you can do. At Google Cloud, we're really happy to show these different hexagons for the different products that are offered, and there's many, so don't feel like you need to memorize what each of the different icons that look like. You'll familiarize yourself with these tools as you keep learning inside of the cloud and taking these labs together. With that, for the little bit of lecture that we're going to do, which is a focus of cloud adoption strategies, I'm going to pass it over to Lisa, who's going to talk to you a little bit about Terraform.
So thanks, Evan. You're going to learn Terraform by doing the lab. A lot of you may already know Terraform because it is a multi-platform tool for provisioning infrastructure in the cloud. But in case you haven't seen Terraform already, I'll do just a little bit. So Terraform is a third-party application. It runs on a variety of platforms. Let me just go and see a couple of things from the site itself. So terraform.io. The idea is, just like we talk about in site reliability engineering at Google, is we want to create infrastructure as code. We want it to be repeatable. We want it to be consistent and easy to deploy in a variety of locations. So the 3 things that we need to do in Terraform for any deployment, but particularly for this lab, is we need to write some infrastructure as code, in other words, some templates. We need to then preview the code, which is called Terraform planning, to make sure that what we're about to do is what we really want to do. And then finally, we do a Terraform apply, which then creates the infrastructure based on the templates that we've built. So let me jump back to the slides. So just as a repeat, one of the big reasons we want to use some sort of deployment tool is so we can manage the code that defines our infrastructure. And we like this tool, as well as Google's own deployment manager, because it's declarative, we can audit what we've done, it's portable, and I can use it in my development environment, in my production environment, wherever it is I need to build my infrastructure in a repeatable way. So now it's game time.
Let's do it. So
Okay.
Lisa, one of the questions that I have is, what background does somebody have to have with Terraform in order to do this lab? Do they have to be an expert?
Not at all. These labs are very tutorial, so they're going to take you through step by step everything you need to do.
Okay, great. So even if you've never heard of Terraform before, or any of these other Google Cloud Platform technologies, you're going to get hands-on practice using these labs. And the labs environment is going to be called Quick Labs. That's QWIKLABS. So anytime you see this logo, or you see the characteristic blue boxes for these different labs here, regardless of whether or not you're using Terraform or you're using some of the other labs, like say, for example, if you want to learn a BigQuery lab or an AutoML lab, if you're a big data aficionado, you can go into Quick Labs and search for over 400 labs inside of the labs catalog and be walked through step by step and get those points as you complete each different activity for the lab. So again, Terraform is just a tip of the iceberg. We're going to be going through just one of those labs today. But keep in mind that when we give you the 1 month of free labs training credits, that you can take whatever you want inside the Quick Labs training catalog. So let's talk a little bit more about the actual game that they're going to be playing.
Okay.
So here we want to, everybody go ahead and do this now. So on the screen here, and we'll post these links in the chat, here's how it's going to get real now. So buckle your seatbelts. We're going to take you into the game. So it's goo.gle, that's Google short linker, /cloud game. So everybody go ahead and do that now in a browser. If you want to follow along with the game, that is. Of course, you can do this after the fact. And you can be taken to a web page. On that web page, I want you to scroll down. And on the left-hand side of the web page, you're going to see a little blue box that says Cloud Adoption Strategy Schemes. Amy is actually going through the second track of labs, the Cloud Implementation Strategies game. So the first tip is it's easy to actually enter the separate track, the implementation. So if Lisa's walking you through the lab and you're like, this isn't the lab that I'm used to, make sure that you're actually in the Cloud Adoption Strategies game. You're going to see a big old blue button there called Play Now. Go ahead and click on that. And for those of you who are already speeding ahead, there is a code, a modal, a pop-up that comes up. And I want you to type in modernize IT, or modernize it, all lowercase, it's case sensitive, 19. So it's the last code there on the bottom. And again, we'll paste it into the chat. So once more, you can be taken to our website, goo.gle/cloud-game, scroll down, it's the box on the left, click Play Now, enter that code, and you're going to be taken to the Quick Labs game arena. So let's go ahead and do that now. So here is what it is going to look like. This is the web page. I'm going to copy and paste the access code. This is going to take me over to Quick Labs, and you're going to be taken here. So there's multiple games. We run games every Friday just for the purposes of this conference. This is a game. We can already see that 200 people are inside of the game. We have a capacity of 3,000, as you see there. And we want you to go ahead and join this game by pasting in the access code, Modernize IT. I've actually had it happen where there wasn't enough capacity for the instructor to do this. So I'm going to make sure that I join really quickly. And then what we'll do is you'll see a box that says, you've joined Cloud Adoption Strategies. Now, we do many, many of these games. This is game number 82 in our series of games that we do. And you can see that people are already inside the lab scoring points, which is crazy and awesome, even though we haven't even started the lab yet. I love it. So what do you get if you win? So even if you don't know Terraform, but you just like collecting cool things, like cool badges and cool points, here's what you're going to win. Everybody who completes this activity, inside of Quick Labs, there's a notion of badges. It's a gamification system. So this badge right here, I'll just zoom in so you can see it, is for the Global Digital Conference. You can get this badge up until July 2nd. And again, you can do each of these labs. There's multiple labs inside of this game, each of them 5 times. So even if you're not the fastest and you're new to Terraform and you're new to Quick Labs, you can still get a pretty cool badge just for participation and completing the quest, which is cool. Hopefully you learn something along the way, but honestly, I like doing it for a lot of the swag because everyone loves badges. Now, if you're super fast, as you heard was mentioned before, the top 10 people who complete this lab in points, and we'll talk a little bit about the points in just a second, how you can earn them, are actually going to get free Quick Labs credits. 50, I think, for the top 10, and 100 points. And these are credits that you can use to take other labs for free because of the credits. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing. So inside of the game, a game is a collection of multiple labs, and you can take them in any order. However, if you want the next 28 minutes to make sense to you, I want you to make sure that you're going to be using just the first lab, which is the one that Lisa's going to be walking you through, which is Terraform Fundamentals. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one. And that's going to take us into the first lab. In reality, it'll take you probably about 3 to 4 hours to complete all of the labs in this quest. And you can do them again anytime between now and July 2nd. And hopefully, if you're following along, you're going to get the first one done together today. This will take you to the lab instructions. Now, there's 2 screens I'm going to ask you to have pulled up. The first is the Terraforming Fundamentals Self-Paced Labs instructions. I'm going to ask you to just scroll down, and you can see you've got quick links over here, and this is the same for every single lab, regardless of whether or not you're using AutoML, BigQuery, Terraform, Kubernetes, what have you. The instructions are always going to look the same. And your eyes are immediately going to be attracted to a gigantic big green button that says Start Lab, and then a timer. So before you click Start Lab, I want you to open up an incognito window. Open up an incognito window. Inside of Chrome, again, I just click on the 3 dots, incognito window. It's important because you don't want to be using your own personal Gmail or Google account if you have one of those. And then I actually have a separate screen here where I already have an incognito window open. And I want you to navigate to the Google Cloud Platform. The console is console.cloud.google.com. Again, that's console.cloud.google.com. And I want you to sign in and hang on to this screen, because this means you're ready to start the lab. You're not going to type in your personal Gmail address. You don't want to get charged for the resources that you're going to be using here. That's the whole point of Quick Labs, is to get you those resources time-bound at no additional cost. So if you're with me so far, you've got the lab instructions here on one screen, the actual console sign-in on the other, and you actually see a leaderboard of people who are already ripping through here and scored a bunch of points. Don't worry if you haven't started your engines yet. Lisa's going to be walking you through the rest of this lab and get you a little bit of a heads up on how you can score those points. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lisa to rip through Terraforming Fundamentals.
All right. I thought we weren't ripping through.
No, not ripping through. You're going to learn a lot, don't worry.
So I click on Start Lab because I need the credentials to log in. So Evan already opened up a window for us where we can log into the platform. I just need a login. So every time you run a Quick Lab, you're going to get a brand new user account and GCP project to use in that lab. That's how we don't charge it to your personal information. So I copy this, and then I scroll across. I drop in my login. So I paste that in here, and then next. So you probably realize this, we're not using a simulation. We're using the real Google Cloud Platform for these labs. So I log in, and I will have to, of course, accept all the terms and conditions for this. Then no, this account's a temporary account. I don't want to protect it. Next, I will choose to accept the terms and conditions for GCP itself, agree and continue.
I like the name it gives you. Welcome Google 3910695.
Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Cloud Shell here because we're going to be doing a lot of command line work when we use Terraform. So while I start the Cloud Shell, I want to go back and point out one more thing that's on the other page. So it gave you a username and a password, but look at the last thing that it tells us. It gives us a GCP project ID. So this is the project that is created for us to use, and I want to make sure that when I logged in over here, I choose that project in the Select a Project dropdown. So at the top of the GCP window, there is a dropdown that says Select a Project. Yes, that's the one. It's usually the last one in the list. Oops, I need it, and I have selected it. Great. So now I'm in my project. I have my Cloud Shell open. Let's look at our directions. What is it that we're supposed to be doing now that we're here? So I'm going to skip past some of the information that's here. since I'm demoing it. There's a nice narrative, though, about what is Terraform, how it works, how it gets set up. But I'm going to jump straight down to where we take our first steps in installing Terraform. Quick Labs are usually set up so that you don't have to do a lot of typing. That's one thing that's going to make things quicker. Don't try to type all these commands. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to get Terraform installed. So back over. And in the Cloud Shell here at the bottom, I say to download with wget Terraform. That was quick. Jump back. My next step is to unzip the package. Again, that's going to be pretty quick. So I've got the installation bits in my Cloud Shell. Now I just need to make sure that I've set all my references appropriately so that I can use the software. So we'll set up a path variable, a couple of other things. Great, I should be good to go. To see that I am, I can just use the Terraform command. And yes, it came back. It has its installation, so we should be ready to actually do something with Terraform. So back to the instructions. So let's see. Verifying the installation. Oops, already did that. Sorry, scrolling seems to be suddenly beyond me. All right. Scroll. There we go. So our first step is to decide what is it we're going to build with Terraform today, and where do we put that configuration. So Terraform has configuration files. They're called .tf files for Terraform.
Not TensorFlow.
Not TensorFlow, no, for Terraform. So they've actually given us a TF file already. We just need to set it up.
So Lisa, every time I see the word nano, if you're a developer and you use like VI or nano, every time you see the word nano, I get really freaked out. Is there another way so I don't have to look like a hacker and like edit things in the command line?
Oh, you bet. So on the Cloud Shell, there's a code editor. It's in beta, but it works great. So I clicked on it. It's taking a minute to get set up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that instance.tf file and just paste in the stuff that we saw already.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what's in the TF file is going to be specific to Google Cloud Platform. So let me make a new file. And we'll call it instance. Oops. Instance.tf. I will simply paste in what was in there before, and we can take a quick look at it. So we're going to create a resource. We need to create it in our project. So you have to give it a project ID. Well, where do we have our project ID? Great, I have it on that very first page, and it's already set up to copy. So I'll just go back to my instructions and copy it from here. So you can see on the left side where I've hit the button and it says copied, and then I can come back and paste it in here. So let's just go check and see really quick where I am in the instructions. I jumped ahead. Yes, I know what's coming. So it said, add the following content to your file, making sure to replace the project ID with your actual project ID.
Awesome. It's hard to believe we're almost already done just looking at the right-hand side, right?
Well, we still have to build it. And
oh, we got to build it. Okay, cool.
Yes, we do. So if I go back, oops, not what I wanted to go back to. Let's go back here. So I've got a project. I also have to name the machine that I'm creating. And what are the things you always have to specify for a virtual machine? You always have to give what kind of machine you want. That defines the CPU and the memory. You have to say what disk do you want and what network interface you want. And if you look at this template, those are exactly the things that are here. We want an N1 standard 1 machine. We're going to put it in the US Central 1 region. And then we're going to set up a standard boot disk and a network interface on the default VCP network. So yeah, this is about as simple a file as you can have. Now in the next lab, it's going to get a lot more complicated.
Sure.
But we need to just make sure we know how Terraform works before we get that far.
So this is like the blueprint. Essentially, you need to spin up some virtual machine resource, and you're saying, this is the hardware that I want, but I'm going to specify it in code. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So let me save. So I actually have the file. And then let me make sure that the file is actually here where I expect it to be. So when I do an ls, I see instance.tf. we're in good shape. So one of the things that Terraform does is it operates on all the TF files that are in the directory where you're working. So in real life, you probably want to make a directory and put all your .tf files in it. But for just this demo purposes, for just the quick labs, we don't need to do that. We'll just put it in our home directory and we'll run it from there. So back to the instructions. Here we go. So they did the same little description. Now we need to run our first Terraform command, or at least our first real command. And the first thing we need to do is initialize Terraform, because if I just say, hey, Terraform, build this, I haven't set up the Terraform environment yet. So that's the first step that we want to do here. Again, back down at the bottom in the Cloud Shell, I say Terraform init, and Terraform's going to go through and initialize the plugins that it needs to work in GCP. So successfully initialized, that's the word I'm looking for.
Green is good, right?
Green's always good. Red's usually not. So I seem to want to click in the wrong spot every time. Okay, so we saw some messages about downloading plugins, etc. If I just give the Terraform plan command, then I'm asking Terraform to look at my TF files and see if it thinks they make any sense.
Great.
There are some optional arguments, but again, we're just going to do things the simple way here. And to be honest, when you're competing for points, you're probably going to paste some of this stuff into a text file and kind of preset it up so you can just go bang, 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 bang to get all your points.
And that's a good time to talk about how do they get, so say they're going to run through this lab the first time and just go for just the knowledge and understanding. If they're going to do this the second time, do you have any tips for speed for them to earn those max points?
I do. I usually make sure that I've sort of pre-copied everything into a file and then just cut and paste as much of it as I can into the Cloud Shell. Just be a little bit careful with that TF file because you've got to edit that. And that project number is going to be different every single time.
Great.
But yeah. So, oops, I didn't specify an out parameter, so it didn't save it. That's fine. But let's see if I can move this window up a little bit so we can see all the things that it did. So it looked at our config file. And it also said what it would do if it was actually going to do something for us. It says, hey, this machine will be created, and then it reviews all the settings. I'm like, I didn't set all this. No. Oh, I mean, a lot of stuff is going to default automatically when this runs.
But so, you could if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, you could set a lot of parameters here that we didn't even bother to touch. And in the lab document, it actually tells you where you can find out about a whole bunch more of these. But I'm happy with this. And so I'll do the final command here, which is Terraform apply. So back to here. Now this is probably going to take a few minutes, and we probably should check in and see what other people are doing with the game. But let's just make sure it starts running before we jump away. So, oops, did I accidentally put an extra letter in there?
No, we're in here.
Oh, sorry, in the wrong. There we go. Now I'm in the right window. Thank you.
So you got your plan, and now the apply is actually says, go do something, right?
Right, it's going to just execute this same plan again. Now, it scrolled past pretty quickly, but it's showing us basically the same thing it showed with the plan, but now it has a question. Do you want to do this plan?
Are you sure you want to do this?
Are you sure you want to do this? So if I say yes, now it's off and running, and it's going out and creating a virtual machine, which will take it a couple of minutes. So let's go back and just kind of look at the end. At the end of these labs, they do usually ask some questions. This is the output we're looking for. So we'll go back and see if we really got this output in a minute.
And this means that that hardware is actually being created on Google Cloud
Right,
Platform.
that virtual machine will be created.
Cool.
It's funny you say hardware, though.
Yeah.
We still say that, don't we? Okay, so if it's actually, once it's actually worked, I can check on complete my progress. Ooh, it probably completed.
Look at that.
Yeah, so that's pretty quick. So in the test your understanding, we'll want to go also and just make sure this really happened. Another command we could use is Terraform show. Probably not something you do just immediately here at the end, but there's the command. Let's give it a try. So you can see just before I scroll past it, it said apply complete. Again, we got the green, yay.
That's fast. So you literally created that VM in less than like 30 seconds.
Probably, yeah. Because now that I think about it, we didn't really create a very big deployment. In the next lab, though, when you create a much larger deployment, you can expect that to take a little while. No matter how fast you are getting to that point, it's going to take a minute to deploy. So the Terraform show command shows what happened. if you're doing the more complex deployment, you'll have some more things that you need to put into that file. If you don't put all the things in there right, your plan might fail, or if your plan looks good, maybe even your apply might fail. But I think generally if the plan works, the apply should work as well.
You know what my favorite thing about so far what you've shown is the terraforming file that's setting up the instance. It literally just specifies the infrastructure as code. And the best part about it is whenever you see code, you don't have to, I mean, yes, you could technically go into Google Cloud Platform and click on the button and do the same steps to create a VM. But what's really cool about having infrastructure as code, and it's 2 words, first word is version, second word is control. So the really good thing is if you're sharing it out with people, you're like, I'm going to check into GitHub or Cloud Source repository or something like that. This is the infrastructure that my application is going to run on. And literally once you've done, exactly as Lisa showed, the Terraform plan and then apply and then build it all out, you can literally go back in your code and say, what kind of machine type did I have? Or do I want to change that? Or I want somebody else to look at it. All that code is right there. I think that's super cool.
That is very cool. And as they said on the Terraform site, it's auditable.
It's auditable.
Right. Yeah, I can check it. I can make sure that I'm consistent, that I do it the same way every time. Don't have to remember anything. And if I don't have to remember something, I'm great.
I completely agree.
So again, if I come back in here into the GCP console where I can see things in the visual.
We should see a VM, hopefully, yeah?
Yeah, you should see a VM right there. There it is. It created it. So there you go.
Wow, just with code, just applying it that way. That's great.
Yeah, very simple. Well, this one was very simple, but you can see that it's not hard to build up a complex infrastructure and have it pretty well documented just in the Terraform files.
So we did a virtual machine and specified some of the default options like the zone and the region. What are some of the other resources as part of the Google Cloud Platform that you can reach out through these .tf files and spin up? Is there a limit, or is it just like you can only spin up virtual machines?
You can spin up almost anything. You could spin up SQL. Remember, there's another lab on the other track using Terraform with SQL. You can spin up load balancers, clusters, Kubernetes clusters. Yes. So it's pretty easy to build out a pretty big infrastructure here. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing platform.
And is it specific to Google Cloud Platform, or
not at all. Not at all, because Terraform is multi-platform. Now, different platforms obviously name their resources different things.
Sure.
But yeah, Terraform's pretty popular because it's multi-platform. You can use it on-prem, you can use it in GCP, you can use it with other cloud providers. So a lot of people already know Terraform. So for them, they may be rocketing through some of these labs. It's going to be very familiar.
You want to check it on them? Where are we? I don't think we're even number 1.
No, I'm pretty sure we're not there. Wow,
look at these.
400 million. Somebody is really pounding on it.
Crushing it.
But, again, if you know how you're doing this and you sort of pre-plan it, and the first time you go through the lab, of course, you want to make sure you got all the steps right.
Sure.
But then as much as you can, if you can copy paste it from a file that you've set up on the side for the second run through, you should be able to go a lot faster.
That's great. That's mostly how I learned SQL and other programming languages, is copying and pasting from Stack Overflow anyway. So this comes familiar.
Yeah. So do we want to go back and take a look at a couple more things here?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the really, really cool things, I'd love Lisa to kind of just talk about it at a high level, is your second lab. So I'll show you, once you're done with the lab, by the way, you can let it time out. There's no issues that's going to happen.
Oh, that's right.
But
we should turn it off.
Yeah, we'll turn it off, so we're not using the resources. You want to make sure that you get all the points. Terraform enables you to safely and predictably create, change, and improve infrastructure. Sure, why not? With Terraform, you can create our own custom provider plugin. Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So make sure, for the points part of the lab, anytime you see a green button where it says check by progress, the time difference between when you hit start lab and then when you hit that first check by progress, you get a speed bonus for the smaller that time is. So the fastest people that have taken this lab have probably literally got it down to 5 minutes or so, maybe less, just because they're tearing through that TF file and immediately scrolling down and seeing check by progress. Behind the scenes, if you're wondering how this actually works, we have a bunch of really cool scripts that use the GCP API that look and see, hey, was there a VM instance created in US Central 1A with the name Terraform or something like that? And if there is, it gives you the check mark, awards you the points. If there's not, then it'll give you the X. So it's a tangible way. This isn't just like a easy checkbox. You have to actually do the work to check your progress. But once you're all done with this lab and you've got the points and you're ready to take it again, I'd ask you to click End Lab, a small plug, if you're a technical curriculum developer like me, we live and die by the feedback that we get on these labs. So once you click End Lab, a really useful thing for us, I'm not trying to plug that you should give every lab a 5-star rating, but if you really liked a portion of the lab or really want maybe an area for improvement, type in a comment there. I'm just going to give this one 5 stars. Comments, we read those. We actually feed them through a machine learning model for sentiment analysis. So we do care what you put in. So we're going to hit thumbs up on that.
It's not just the machine that reads them.
It's not just the machine. They're real people. I'm very protective of the labs that I create. So we definitely update them based on your feedback, which is cool. So that's 1 down, 3 to go. And again, we have about less than 10 minutes left, and we do want to tease you with those 1-month free Coursera and 1-month free Quick Labs links. So we're not going to go through the second lab, but I would ask Lisa to go through is talk at a high level. We did 1 VM on the first lab. What are we spinning up in the second lab? Is it as easy as 1 VM, or what are they going to be doing?
Well, in some ways it's just as easy because you still just have to build a template.
True.
And one thing that I thought you were going to mention for sure, you can't start a second lab while the first lab is running. So it's a good thing that Evan remembered to tell you to stop the lab, because you're going to want to remember to do that too, because you can't just close the window and walk away, because just to keep things from exploding in terms of resources we're consuming, you must end a lab, or it can time out before you can start another one. So I wouldn't have been able to start this if we hadn't ended the last one. So the second one is automating the deployment of networks with Terraform. So if I go in here, maybe I can make this slightly larger even on screen. Well, maybe not. There, oh, thank you. That was nice. In the second lab, you're still not creating a lot of virtual machines, but you are creating a VPC network. And in this case, you'll have one network in the US and you'll have another network in Europe. So this is going to be a significantly more complicated deployment, and it's going to focus mostly in on the networking aspect. Again, if you want to try some more things with Terraform, there is another lab in the other track, and there's a whole quest in Quick Labs on Terraform. So definitely want you to get all the points that you can, but like for you to realize that there's a lot more to Terraform that you can practice with on GCP. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. So try your luck on that second lab. Again, you've got 5 attempts for each of these labs. And just keep in mind, anytime you hit that magic End Lab button, the project is completely destroyed, for lack of a better word. So if you have a bunch of notes or you've uploaded things that you want to save persistently, it's probably better to use, after you're done with these labs and after you're done with this game, your own company's Google Cloud Platform account or your own personal account if you have a project that you want to be long-lived. Because these projects that are auto-generated as part of Quick Labs, after that hour is over, or however long the lab duration is, or if you click End Lab, the project itself is wiped. So be sure to make sure that anything that you want to store, particularly any code, or like those .tf files, store them somewhere else.
yeah, that's a great idea. And
I learned that the hard way.
yes, most of us have. So what? Oh, I forgot. I already had the screenshot right there.
No worries.
All right, let's talk about the course offer.
Yeah, free
Go for
stuff.
it.
Cool.
Free stuff's always good.
So we're not going to make you frantically working on copying this down. I'll paste it in the chat, or Artem in Colorado will paste this in the chat. There's 2 links I want you to remember. And again, you might be frantically working through the labs. You've got until July 2nd. So even if you're not #1 right now, the night of July 1st, while you're enjoying vacation or whatnot, I like to do labs on vacation because I'm a nerd. One of the things that you can do is pop back in here and just try those labs upwards of 5 times. Now, say July 2nd hits and it's July 3rd, and you say, hey, I really want to learn more about Terraform or AutoML or BigQuery or Kubernetes. Where can I take my training? Or you're a team lead and say you're already a Terraform expert and you want to mentor your other team members. What are the training resources that you can access? Well, 2 different types. First type are on-demand videos and Quick Labs that are part of an on-demand platform, Coursera, for those of you who've heard of it. And this bit.ly link here, I'm not even going to try to read it out loud, we'll paste it in the chat, will get you access to those videos and labs. So Coursera, on the on-demand platform, has both the videos, which is the instruction, so you're going to learn. It also has Quick Labs nested into it. Now, say you're already an expert, or you just wanted to go right to the labs themselves. As Lisa mentioned, there's over 400 labs in the catalog, so if you want to explore the terraforming quest, you can do that directly within Quick Labs. And this link, so there's those 2 links. One is the Coursera link, the other is the Quick Labs link. We'll give you 1 month free of Quick Labs beyond this game, either track. But I definitely encourage you to take the other track as well, clicking that Play Now link after you're done here. But that's the link for the quick labs. And again, if you're already a terraforming expert or terraforming is not what you want to be focusing on, there's over 400 labs in the catalog, ranging from machine learning, infrastructure as code, security fundamentals, cloud IAM, Google Sheets. There's definitely something out there for everybody. All right. So last thing that I'll mention is for the question and answering. If you have something that you want to learn about Terraform or about a different product as part of Google Cloud Platform, or if you're even just curious about what we do for our jobs as curriculum developers and lead instructors, be sure to leave a note, say hi, type it into the chat, and we'll be sure that we answer those questions and answers here. But for myself and Lisa, this has been an absolute blast. Thanks for walking us through the amazing lab, Lisa. Any final words for those competitors out there that are furiously going through those labs?
Good luck, and remember to give it all you've got, 5 tries, and hopefully you'll learn a lot too. So thanks a lot, Evan. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you all, and good luck in the labs.
What an awesome lab. So you got to walk through a little bit of what Terraform does and learn a little bit about it if you weren't familiar with it before. I think Terraform is something that we're seeing a lot of growth in, especially over the last couple of years, because as it was mentioned in the presentation, it really focuses on declaring out everything. And I think the really key point there was version control, right? You have a lot of things, we sometimes call it technical drift, when you might set up an environment at some point, or you might have one person who sets it up, and then over time that person forgets or things change, and then the environment starts to drift away from how it was originally set up, but no one knows how it was declared. Terraform and other declarative manners of saying infrastructure as code are great ways to solve for this. And so with that lab, it's just a quick sample of what Terraform can do. But the theme of today has very much been on how do we move to the cloud, and how do we create a solution for hybrid environments. Once again, Terraform does a great job of making sure you can declare all of those things and setting it up so that when you need to deploy it, redeploy it, or deconstruct it, all of that can be handled through those Terraform files. So that was just the first lab. There's 3 more labs in that track. We also have our other track, which focuses a little bit more on cloud fundamentals. You can choose which one. Don't forget that the game is going to be available until July 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So as you're going through that, whenever you choose, you get 5 runs per game. Kind of like that was mentioned earlier, practice through, make sure you feel comfortable, and then the last time or one of those times, just get all that content out there, copy it, paste it in there, and go for the high score. Or if you're not so concerned about the score, that's no problem. There's tons of content on Quick Labs, so much more than Terraform, covering all parts of different GCP, whether that's setting up instances like we just saw a virtual machine setup, or whether you're doing way more complex architecture builds. All of those, including machine learning, are available through Quick Labs and Coursera. Now, Quick Labs is a little bit more of a spin up an instance, work with that environment for a while, and then, as it was mentioned, spin down that entire project so you don't get to keep any of that. Coursera, you can work in your own projects and you'll get more supplemental material such as videos, documentation, and quizzes. So choose the learning platform that's right for you. We talked a lot more earlier about some of the options, and we'll talk a little bit more just after the show about some of the available options for how you can kind of choose which learning price is good for you. Looks like we're just about out of time, so we'll see you in a second.